Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2014 Honda Accord Touring. Up front is a 3.5 liter V6 and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now I'm super excited to be driving this here Honda Accord V6 for two main reasons. First of all, the Accord V6 has always been a decently sporty sedan, and I think a sedan that gets overlooked quite a bit because it doesn't have a turbo or because it's a Honda or name any other reason. And while I've never driven a Honda Accord V6, I'm ready to see what it's like. But the second reason I'm excited to drive this specific Honda Accord is because the owner, Lou, has had it K-tuned, meaning it is running off of a higher octane fuel, and the computer has been adjusted to make it a little bit quicker. Cylinder deactivation has actually been deactivated, as well as VTEC has actually been programmed to come on sooner rather than later. So let's see what this V6 is all about, and let's get back to that 3.5 liter V6. Well, it's actually a single overhead cam V6, which is surprising. Would have thought it was dual overhead cam, but it's basically a Honda Odyssey engine. It's a Honda Ridgeline engine. It's a Honda Passport and Honda Pilot engine. It's just basically Honda's run-of-the-mill V6 that they've been using for 2 decades. They still use it today. And so I'll put the factory horsepower and torque up on the screen. However, like I mentioned, this car is making more power than that. Not insane amounts, but enough to notice. Fuel economy for the stock Honda Accord V6 sedan is up on the screen as well. It's a Honda, although it's not as good as other Hondas, it's still pretty decent. All right, let's see what it does. Wow, it pulls very, very consistently, and it has a very solid pull too. It doesn't throw me back in my seat. I don't need to call a psychiatrist after flooring it, but I am really, really impressed. You have to remember this is a Honda family sedan that was mass produced. There's one right there in traffic, and I've already passed several others. It's a very common, normal car, and yet it is really quick. And you could feel that in the VTEC coming on in the high 4,000 RPM range instead of its normal low 5,000 RPM range. It's only a couple hundred RPM difference, but you actually do notice that it comes on pretty quick. Like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, unfortunately for this body style of 2014, Honda got rid of the manual transmission option. So you could only get this in a 6-speed automatic, which is fine by me. Because it is not a CVT like modern Hondas, I actually really enjoy the feeling of the transmission. I think it shifts and it does the job well enough. Last but not least, of course, the Accord V6 is front-wheel drive. So let's talk about the interior. We have quite a bit to go through in here. Well, in front of me, I have 3 main gauge pods. On the left is my tachometer. In the center, I get my speedometer as well as a bunch of information on the center screen. And then to the right, I get my coolant temperature and fuel. I like the overall look of the gauges, and they do something kind of fun. It's very hard to show here during the day, but there's these green lights on the outside of the speedometer, and that's showing you how efficiently you're driving. So when you put your foot into it, they fade out to gray, as if to warn you, hey, you're not being so green anymore. Calm it down, Dominic Toretto. I like that little gimmicky feature, and it does kind of bait you into driving more efficiently. You want to keep that green there. You want to make the car happy. I like that a lot. On the steering wheel, very plain and simple, but on the left, I have some selectors for the infotainment. I have phone options, and on the right, I have my cruise control, information settings for the center gauge, and that's about it. One thing to note is that this car does have radar cruise control, which is fantastic for 2014. Like I said, plain and simple, very typical standard run-of-the-mill steering wheel here for Honda, and I like that. To the left, I have my Econ button, my lane departure warning button, and my traction control off button. Moving on to the door, I have my memory seat options because this is the fully loaded touring model. I have my power mirrors, power locks, and power windows down below that. So a couple of thank yous to the people who made this video possible. First of all, we have Cash for Cars. Cash for Cars wants to buy your car. Whether it's running, non-running, has a good title, salvage title, whatever it is, you can get a free quote from Cash for Cars and they will pick up your vehicle in less than 24 hours. Our next sponsor is Fixed. Fixed is a Bluetooth OBD2 sensor that plugs directly into your car and pairs to your smartphone. The app allows you to monitor your vehicle's health. It gives you a forecast of issues that might come up and helps you schedule maintenance and find new parts. Our final sponsor is Conplates. Conplates is a suction cup license plate mount for the front of your vehicle if you don't want to drill one into your bumper. All three of our fantastic sponsors can be found in the description below, as well as videos explaining them further if you'd like more information, but let's get on with the review. Moving into the center, this is the K-Tuner screen. So this is an aftermarket piece, and it's showing me my tachometer, pressures, AFR, gear, battery voltage, and things like that. So when the car does get its computer adjusted, you can also get this little screen just to monitor things, which is really, really helpful and something you can seek out if you have a V6 Honda Accord. But down below that, I have the actual center infotainment screen that is standard to the Honda Accord, and I decently like it. It's okay. It's a little dated at this point, but this car, you know, is 7 years old. Now, I'll show just some footage of going to the media center and navigation and things like that. This car is outfitted with navigation from 2014, and I honestly don't mind it. I think it works pretty well considering how old it is. However, my favorite feature of this car is the fact that it has a blind spot camera on the passenger side. So whenever you turn your turn signal on, or you can just randomly toggle it by hitting the button on the turn signal stalk, there's a camera on the passenger side that will give you a view of your blind spot. This is fantastic. This is incredibly smart thinking from Honda. And they had this in 2014. So by 2021, it should be trickled down into all of their new cars. But it isn't. It's not. The 2022 Honda Civic does not come with this blind spot camera, which I think is an incredibly stupid mistake that Honda has made, because this technology is so cool and you get it here in the Accord. Then I have another multimedia screen down below the navigation screen, and this is just for your multimedia. This looks very, very dated by modern standards, of course. It looks like a PlayStation 2 menu, and I'm not the biggest fan. However, this car is 7 years old. I can't really fault it for having outdated tech when it's a decently outdated car. Down below that, I do have my climate control options, dual zone climate, which is very, very nice, as well as auto climate. And I have my mirror defrosters and a rear defroster, which again, are very nice features. Then I have my control dials for the upper screen for my navigation, as well as audio, media settings. I like the tactile feedback this center knob has. I think it actually feels really good, feels really nice, and I have no complaints. Then we come down to the center console. I do have a USB port as well as a 12-volt outlet, which is very nice. And then we get the shifter area. Heated seats high and low are on either side of the shifter, and then we have the shifter itself, which feels very, very nice. It looks nice, it looks presentable. Overall, I have no complaints about it. It's nice, clean, and simple. Then we do have cup holders, so we have to do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Honda Accord V6. And it passes. That's right, the Honda Accord V6 from 2014 passes the big friggin' bottle test with flying colors. This might be one of the best ones I've ever done, and also Hondas seem to really hold the big friggin' bottle well, so kudos to you, Honda. The center console, you'll also find another 12-volt outlet, and then we have to talk about the seats. The seats are comfortable, they are heated, they are power, and they are memory, which is pretty much everything you can ask for from a Honda Accord. Nothing really too crazy. They're not going to massage you. They're not going to lull you to sleep, but that's quite okay. Speaking of seats, however, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2014 Honda Accord V6. First of all, this is my regular driving position. My knees are not even touching the front seat. I would have to really stretch them out and really want them to touch the front seat in order to get them to do so, which is nice. That's the nice thing about the Honda Accord. It's a lot longer than the Honda Civic, so you have a lot better back seat space than the Honda Civic. So if you're between the two, if not just the V6 was enough to get you to the Accord, the back seat space definitely should be. Little center console here with two cup holders. Nothing really too crazy. Besides that, I don't really get any interesting, fun, or impressive features back here, I do have my own little vents. I have like a light and things like that. But again, nothing really too crazy. Now let's go take a quick look at the trunk and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the V6 Honda Accord. The button is actually off center over here. You can see it's just like a little mechanical button. And then we have the actual trunk space, which is very, very nice for a full-size sedan like this. Tons of room. It is tall, it's wide. I know from personal experience we fit at least 2 golf bags in here, as well as enough stuff for 3 people for an entire weekend trip, along with those golf clubs. So definitely very spacious back here. I can also pull this up. I do get a little spare tire. It's nice that I even get a spare tire, things like that. Nothing really too crazy with the trunk, but definitely adequate. Now we got to talk about the looks, and I love the look of this Honda Accord. Mainly because I think I do have some nostalgia with this car. One of my close friends growing up drove one of these cars. It wasn't ever a super cool car, and that was the inline 4 version. But I think this sort of style and design is sort of comforting to me, as well as I don't think the car is understated or overstated. Cars of the early 2000s were very bubbly, very soft. They looked like stuffed animals. And now cars are hard as razors. They got cutting edges and teeth and barks and bites, and everything now is aggressive. Look at my Mazda 3. It's angry, it's pissed off about something. Probably getting left outside all the time, but it doesn't look happy. This car, I think, is a good middle ground. It was a good transition between bubbly and cute and hard and angular. I honestly think that this car looks really good, and I think this is the best looking Accord. It's not overstated, it's not terribly understated. I think it's the Goldilocks of looks, which I love. But now let's talk about my thoughts on the Honda Accord V6 as a whole. Well, this is my first time driving a Accord V6, and I really am impressed by the power. Now, I have to take that with a grain of salt because this car has been slightly modified. It's on the 91 octane tune. It has VTEC kick in at a different time. It's not 100% factory. That being said, it's not incredibly different from the stock car, and so in that respect, I like it. This car handles and drives really well. It's at almost 100,000 miles, and I honestly would guess that this car had 50, that this car had 25. It doesn't feel like it's moving over into the 6 digits. I also like all the features in here. Yes, I said that they are kind of dated, but I can't hold that against this car. It's 7 years old, and so for 2014 technology, I think this car is actually pretty adequate. I love that blind spot camera. I wish every single car manufactured had that blind spot monitor. I love that to death, and I'm really upset that Honda doesn't still do that. At least they haven't trickled it down to the Honda Civics, which is blasphemy in my opinion. I think the overall seating position in here is very comfortable. The interior has held up pretty well. It's still a Honda interior, so you're not gonna find reclaimed driftwood or hand-stitched Napa leather from one singular valley in California, but it holds up well and does the job. I don't really have any complaints. I can't think of anything that I would walk away from this car and say, yeah, it's good, but I don't like X, Y, or Z. I don't have any X, Ys, or Zs. I don't have any ABCs. I don't have any LMNOPs. And so the nice thing is that this car is on the used market. You can find these for not that expensive, way cheaper than a new Accord for sure. And I have to think that this is such a good buy. You can get a car that's fully loaded for not a fully loaded price. You can get the V6, and even at that, you can tune the V6 if you want to tune it, as long as you can put up with not turning heads when you take it to the grocery store. As long as you can put up with people not constantly coming up to you and saying, what is that? Oh my gosh! As long as you can fully accept the fact that you're not going to be center of attention, this car is perfect for you. It's perfect for me, and it's perfect for Lou. Thank you guys so much for watching. Huge thank you to Lou for letting me take out his K-tuned 2014 Honda Accord. I really don't have any complaints, and it's strange not having complaints. I'm a reviewer. I shouldn't like something, but nothing's really jumping out at me. Nothing's speaking to me, and that's a good thing in this case. So again, huge thank you to Lou. He does have a YouTube channel as well. I've been following his content for quite some time, so go check it out. It'll be linked in the description below. He has a couple videos of even drag racing this car, which is really, really cool. He actually does drive this car in a tuned fashion, which is great. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.